Got it.
So welcome everybody to today's Inside Health Apps Thursday Live. I am Denise Arminio, and I am here with Claire McIntyre, who will be helping me answer all your chat questions on the side. And today we will be working with a volunteer, and we will meet her in just a minute. And we will go over some of the ins and outs of the Genius Insight app and also run a scan at the same time. So without further ado, let me just start sharing my screen here and all the different buttons have changed here. This is strange. Claire, I don't see a share button. Oh, it's there right in front of me in green. Sorry, guys. Let me share the sound. Share. Okay. So, hello, Melinda.
Hi, I was just going to try to unlock it won't let me unlock my screen so I could turn this, but that's okay. I can still.
You're good. Can you see my screen though?
I can see your screen, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I'm just gonna enter your name in here. Is your name, I'm just gonna use the spelling that's listed on the Zoom. Is that all correct? Great.
Yeah, it's pronounced Fouché, but it's spelled like touche with an F.
Got it. And it's hyphenated, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then your date of birth?
10/31/46.
Coming up.
I'm getting old.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so for anybody new that's watching this, this is how you start a client session, whether you're working, running a session on yourself or a family member or a client. If this is your business, a new client, you will fill in their information here. And then we would just hit continue with new analysis. If it was someone that you've already had a session with before, you wouldn't need to enter in the information here. You would just go up top to access your client records, and you would can search for their name. And then within that, it says begin a new session. So I'm going to begin right now by just hitting continue with new analysis. This screen right here is just for your own record, so that you can have a record of what you worked on or what symptoms you were trying to clear. So I'm Melinda. Why don't you just give me a little bit of insights of what you would maybe like to work on today? Do you have any physical pain, any emotional pain?
No emotional pain. I have my left shoulder is bothering me. I just had a massage this morning. So I have a little pain in my left shoulder, my left side of my neck from probably straining it from driving. And I have Hashimoto's hypothyroid, and that is really the only thing I deal with ever. I have no issues, no high cholesterol, no high blood pressure, nothing. No pain, no arthritis. I'm a former naturopath, so for 35 years I've been very proactive, but I have done everything, and nothing I have done, and I've taken every course out there, has been able to bring my antibodies down, my peroxidase antibodies down. And I have just started taking I'm off of it right now, but I'm going to go back onto it. Low dose naltrexone. I was away for 6 weeks and my prescription ran out, so I have to renew it. But yeah, that's my big issue. Is I'm very frustrated. I gave up wheat, I gave up dairy, I've given up sugar, I eat organic, and still I have these ridiculously high antibodies, which is really only affected losing hair. I'm very careful about what I eat, so weight is not an issue. It used to be, but not since I gave up wheat. So I guess that's about it.
Okay, and if we could just go back to your shoulder and neck, I know you just had a massage, but right now, if you had to rate it on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being severe, how would you rate it?
I would rate it at about well, my neck, I would put it about a 3, and my shoulder, I'd probably put it about a 4, 4.5.
Okay, I'll just put it as a 4. Okay. So, anything on here doesn't ring a bell, anxiety,
Well,
as
I probably have allergies. My nose just drips when I was up in Arizona, I sneezed probably 50 times a day, and it was just from the dust.
okay.
And I probably have not the greatest circulation. My hands and feet were freezing on the massage table this morning. But the only other thing I deal with very carefully is digestion, and it's just all about what I eat. And when I had that all tested, all that ever came up was low pancreatic enzymes.
Okay.
Nothing else came up. I probably have some, intermittently probably get a little maybe I suspect a kidney or a bladder infection, but it's never diagnosable. The only way I know is I'll just go through a period where I have some urgency and I start taking some herbs and it goes away. So it may be a low grade infection in my bladder or my kidneys. But it's not diagnosable. There's no high white blood cells or anything. So I don't know why it happens. It could just be my vagus nerve is overreactive. I don't know.
Well, why don't we check it out and see what shows up?
Okay.
So I'm just going to click done here. Again, none of the information that we've entered here has anything to do with the scan. This is just purely for your records.
Okay. Well, that's helpful to know because I didn't realize that.
Yeah, no, that's just so you can go back and check like what you worked on, or, if on the second session you go back and you could say, oh, this was what was bothering me last time I had a session. Do any of those things still bother you? But
Instead of keeping client notes.
yeah, yeah, basically. I mean, it might get tedious if you have to keep scrolling to the bottom, but you might like having it all in one place here.
Okay.
So here's where we get your voice sample for the Genius, and this is where it uses the advanced voice spectrum analysis to help with the analysis process of all the energy that's moving around and going through you. So I will count you down. I'll say 3, 2, 1, begin. And at that point, you can say your full name and then repeat the vowels A, E, I, O, U until the 15-second counter gets to 0.
Okay. Ready.
3, 2, 1, begin.
AEIOU, Melinda Ann Fouché Hessler. AEIOU.
Okay, that's great. The next thing after you or a client or a friend records their voice, I always recommend them listening to the voice harmonics. This
Okay.
gives you an opportunity to listen to how the Genius has translated your spoken word into a frequency. And that frequency also has homeopathic benefits for you. So there is a benefit to listening to it. So I'm just going to play those now for you. Okay, so now I'm just going to hit next. And we can just hit continue. And now I'm just going to take a quick screenshot here of you and add it to my photos. And hope it went in. Well, let's see if it went in there. I can just click on the avatar now and hit existing photo. And there you are. Good. So again, here we can hit begin analysis. And continue. Okay, so here it's now asking us for an energetic affirmation. I usually like to use the same one all the time, but if you have an affirmation that you would like to use, I'll happily put that in, or I can use the one that I always use.
What do you use?
All energies are transmuted into the frequency of pure love.
Oh, I love that. Use it.
Ah. And then I just add and so it is. Okay, so now when I hit okay, the Genius will then translate this written words into a frequency, and that frequency will like overlay all the other frequencies when you run a scan within this session.
Got it.
All right, so now we're going to select begin analysis. Okay, so just to explain briefly, the Genius uses a numerical value system and it ranges from 0 to 777. Starting at the bottom, the low range goes from 0 to 200, and that is represented by the color blue, and that is observed to be chronic energetic disturbances. And it can also, we sometimes also refer to it as under energy or stagnant energy. And that stagnant energy because you've had it for a long period of time and that energy just isn't moving, it's stuck. From there, we go to 201 to 450, and that is represented by the color green. And then their next range is 451 to 599, and that is represented by the color yellow. And then lastly, the range goes from 600 to 777, and that is represented by the color red. And it is observed in items in this range are acute energetic disturbances, meaning that they're out of balance now in the present time. It can also be referred to as over energy or heat or inflammation. And oftentimes you will pick up and items will be red, and it could be as simple as maybe your blood sugar is off because you haven't eaten, or maybe you had too much of something right now and it's out of balance and it's showing up as red. Sometimes it could even be you may be more empathic and you're picking up the emotions of some of the family members you may be living with or coworkers, or perhaps you are on a crowded bus or subway or in an airport or some crowded location, and you're picking up other people's energies. Even though that they are red and they're not yours, it is always important to work with and try to clear these because you don't want them to become stuck and then keep attracting more of that same frequency or energy. It is important to note that anything that shows up in the Genius scans are not diagnostic in the allopathic sense. They will show us energetic disturbances, but they're not showing us physical disturbances. So if infection shows up, it doesn't mean you have an active physical infection, but you might have residual leftover energies of that infection, which is still important to clear nonetheless, but it will just not be picked up if you went to a doctor, because they're not testing the energetics of it. The next thing I'd like to look at is to go down to the biofield and look at aura, and to click on it so we can get your aura picture. And we can just hit begin and end. Okay, I like to, when we get to the aura, click on hide the avatar so we can see the whole aura here. I love the bright green color on the outside. That is a really healthy green. Paler colors, we like to see more bright, vibrant colors. So hopefully that after this session, maybe these can get a little bit brighter. And we also have the old version of the aura, which does give us a little bit more different information. And you look nicely grounded. And the way we tell that is by all four corners are filled with color. So that is great. And sometimes in this version, we can see if there's any programming lines. You might have one programming line in here, but we're not going to get into that because it just takes us down another rabbit hole getting when we start to go a little bit deeper in the aura analysis. But overall, we do like to look for bright, vibrant colors. They are the colors of the chakras that show up, and then you see shades of those colors. So anything that's muddy or dirty looking is an indication of interference or stagnant energy. So hopefully that we can clear those away. The other thing I wanted to just point out were these little arrows on the side, on the right of the words, and that just is there to tell you that there is more information. You can go a level deeper. So
what would you, with something that was way out of balance, would you go deeper on it or not?
Oh, well, I always will usually open them up to look at it. Definitely. So for example, there's just two ways to do it. You can click on the arrow here and it will show you all the items that are in the brain EEG. And these little like magnifying glasses are nice because it gives you a little definition or a little information on what that is that you're looking at. I usually always though will click on the colored line, and then it gives you, it's just visually you can see what you're looking at a little bit better since the lines are color coded to the color range that you're looking at. The first thing that I will always look at, now I just want to go back for a second. The Genius, after you do the analysis, does give you a bit of information because it prioritizes the order of the three main categories, which is body, mind, and biofield. So for you, it's telling us that the mind is the area of priority, then body, and then your biofield. However, with that said, I always work first on every client on adding the items of the biofield into the main whole tray, and as well as the vitamins, minerals, and amino acids, because that is kind of priming your body. You need all those things, and then your body is more receptive to taking on the other frequencies. But to have all the 45 essential vitamins helps your body just get into that state with healthy cells and homeostasis. So I like to use a library that's in my custom panel. If you don't have that, you can just add everything yourself from Biofield and then drag and drop the vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. Okay, so this little pull down in the center will bring us to a search. So it makes it easier for us to find library. So I'm just going to type in the bioterrain. And up top, you can see the vessel priming frequencies. And this contains all of the items that we just spoke about, plus some extra that I've added into this library. But we can just drag the library title straight down, and it makes it much easier than dragging and dropping, or even pressing the plus button for the red, yellow, green, and blue items. In this scan, or I always add all the reds, blues, greens, and yellows.
Oh, you do?
I do, because they're important. And when you get to the Progressive Insights, the Progressive Insights uses algorithms that looks at the relationship of all of the items, and looks at the relationship of them together. So although some of the items may have been yellow or green when you look at it in the library panel, when it's in here, they may become red or blue. Or I'm sorry, I shouldn't label it that way. They may just become, let me run the analysis and I'll show you. So basically, when the Genius takes a specific item and looks at it against your energy field, it may say, oh, it's balanced. But then when that item is in a room with 3 other items, it's not happy anymore. So the same thing might happen. So you might find some items that were relatively in balance now may show as out of balance, and a high priority or more stressed now. And that's the same also, as they may show up as low or more chronic. Now there's 2 ways of interpreting the information here. So you can interpret it as there's high priority, medium priority, and low priority, or you can view it as the highs are like the reds and the lows are like the blues. That's how I usually work with the Genius, and it's basically your intention. You will find working with the Genius, there is a lot of intention-based use with it. So just hold the intention how you want to use it and work with the information. So I'm just going to select all, and I'm going to put the timer on 1 minute. Whoops. And just select play.
Okay.
Okay, so it says your average percent rectification is 15%. Generally, I like to see 40% or above. 15% is still a positive change. However, again, we still like to see it a little bit higher. We also look at the harmony, alignment, and energy flow. And I like to see the range of these three, not to have a wider spread than like 20%. I found that if the spread is larger than 20%, the items may go out of balance because they weren't like it
Equalized,
yeah, they weren't
fairly
equalized.
equalized.
It won't
Yeah,
take too much to throw it back out again. So
right.
now this range isn't very far off. It's only between 11 and 19, so it's only like 8% of that range. So 15% there, being at 15% is really better than something that may be at like 50% average percent rectification, but maybe there's a wider gap of like 40%
Mhm.
change between all of them. This is more stable, I would view it. I would like that to get a little bit higher. Now, a lot of times when I see low frequencies like this, it could be that the person is dehydrated or hasn't had water. I don't know if you've had any water recently, but if
Yeah, in fact, I was drinking a glass of methylene blue water right before I got online.
I'm going to just select the highs and the lows. So I just clicked on the all to deselect it. And now I can just select the low and the high. And I'm going to run those. I'm going to move the timer to 0. And this will enable me to play the frequencies for whatever desired amount of time I want to. Okay, so much better. The average percent rectification has gone up to 46%. And again, the range is between 42 and 51%. So that's excellent. The one thing I wanted to add about why I selected all the reds, yellows, greens, and blues, especially for the vessel priming library, is if anybody is going to be exporting any of these frequencies to the Quanta capsule, in my opinion, it's good for them to have all of the frequencies because it may change from day to day. The capsule will last 7 days, but it may change from day to day on what nutrients they may need. So if you only put the reds and the blues in, you're limiting
Right, okay, that makes
some of
sense.
those vitamins or anything that they may need throughout those 7 days. So depending on how you use it, you may want to add more of the items in and just run those frequencies. So since we did you had a good percent rectification here, I'm just going to back out. I'm going to hit this up arrow for the main hold tray and just clear out the items by hitting this clear all. And I'm going to go back to the system overview page. And now I'm going to click on the system overview, which brings us to the general overview. And this is one of my favorite areas on the Genius. Reason being is that it incorporates every line item from the system overview page, as well as all of your customized libraries. And
I have not added any libraries yet, and that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this training and gonna do regular training now, is to learn how those libraries work and which ones I would prefer to have, and also how to build my own, because I've worked with the SKIO and the core since 2005 and 2007. And I have lots of libraries and databases, but I just don't know how to add them.
Okay, well, great. Well, hopefully you'll get a better sense of using them now. I have a lot of libraries. I have over 2,000 libraries. So I'm not going to scroll through all these pages in here. It would take me a long time. Also, don't be alarmed by seeing a lot of red 777s. There's only 777 slots, and I probably have, I could have like 100,000 line items. So we've got to fill all those slots in. With that said, this gives us a good opportunity looking at the whole big picture to select some of the items that are really, red or blue for you right now. And for me, this is it also, they may not be line items that we would have ordinarily looked at for you, and they could be the underlying cause, because anything can cause anything
Yeah.
when you're doing energy healing work. So that's why this is such a great feature. So I'm just going to select the plus button, and it gives you now to add the top 50 and add the bottom 50. I could, if I wanted to, count more and just work with more of the reds or more of the blues, but it gets a little bit tedious counting and dragging and dropping line by line. Now, the next thing I like to do once I've added the top 50 and bottom 50 from my libraries is at the top, we can click on remove libraries. And now it just leaves me with all the items that are in the system overview. So this is what you would be looking at right now without having any custom libraries. Now, because I have a lot and I've already added 100 items, I am going to select the top 50 and bottom 50 here. You may want to work with that differently. You may want to just add all the reds and see how many you have. Maybe just work with all the reds and run those a few minutes, and then you can clear it and just run all the blues. You have a lot of flexibility here, but for the information that we're working with right now, I just like to stick with the 200 line items here, and then I'm going to select the play button. And again, now we're at the progressive insights. And when we begin analysis, it looks at the relationship of all of these items together, and it will give us our highs, mediums, and lows. Okay, so I kind of use the same format here. I will move the timer to 1 minute and select all, and I will run all of these. So you did really great here. You have a 72% average rectification, and the harmony, alignment, and energy flow 71, 72, and 73. So that's really, really wonderful. Since this is a demo and your percent rectification was so high here, I'm not going to run these frequencies anymore because they're already very high. But if it wasn't that high, you might want to, you could rescan. And then perhaps, maybe you just want to select the low. Why don't we just do that? We can run the low and put the timer on 0 and run just the low items. Now that we rescanned it, the Genius uses algorithms again, and it uses the probability now by resorting all the items. We have a 33% rectification. It's not 40%, but again, the harmony, alignment, and energy flow are tight within 6 of each other. So that's great. So now I'm just going to back out of here and I can clear the main hold tray once again. And so now we've covered our step 1 and our step 2, or at least what I call my step 1 and step 2. So now I'd like to collect information based on whatever your symptoms are that we're looking to clear. We can also just quickly look and see what the today's stress is. We didn't look at that earlier, so we can just look at that just to get a sense of what's showing up. Showing as red, or what's currently stressed, is the brain, emotional, and blood sugar. Again, blood sugar can simply be the time of day and whether you've eaten or
I
haven't.
just ate lunch.
So
So,
just, it might have just spiked, and that's why it's showing that it's off. And then on a more chronic level, there are sensitivities in the immune system. We could look as far as sensitivities, what some of those sensitivities might be. They are, you can't get to it from this screen. You would have to go back out to, whoops. You see sensitivities, where is it?
there it is.
Right here. And you
Yeah.
can get a better sense of what some of those are.
I knew it was pollens and dust.
Tomatoes
Oh,
are like, again, these are off right now. It could, I don't know what you ate, if you were to eat tomatoes or garlic.
I
Again,
just had garlic and tomatoes and, oh yeah, and it's funny because I just finished eating it.
so, it's showing you probably vegetable oil. It doesn't mean that you're sensitive to it. It's just showing that it's out of balance right now. Again, the ones that are blue are showing you ones that are out of balance on a, for a longer period of time chronically. Interestingly, salt is showing up. Any issues with egg or peanuts or fish? Any of these?
Well, not that I know of. I know that dog hair, pollen and dust, and I suspect certain trees, but I've not noticed any reactions to these things. But again, we go back to something is causing this Hashimoto's, and I don't know what, because I've
Right. So,
eliminated.
you may want to pay attention to some of these. You may want to run these. I mean, why don't we do that now, since we don't know?
Okay.
Always just put these blue items in. I'm not going to worry about the red ones. But we'll put all the blue items in there. And you did mention digestion, which is showing up as blue. I'm just going to drag the line, but I will open it up
Yeah.
so you can see what's showing as off right now: small intestine, esophagus, and liver. And then again, blue, which is more chronic, is the flora, gallbladder, enzymes, and mouth. So,
And I take Flora every day, so it's interesting. I
well,
may
it might
need
be that
more.
for some reason your body isn't absorbing it, it doesn't.
Right, right.
So, you want to be aware of that. So I've added all of those items from digestion
Okay.
in. And now we can just go and why don't we go to the custom libraries? And what I want to look at first for you is, let's just put in the pain library here and see if we can knock out that neck and shoulder pain, because I know how that can be a nuisance. So I'm just going to add in the reds and the blues. I'm not going to, we can look at some of them on the bottom. TMJ, oxygenation, arnica, knee injury, pain relief. So again, just frequencies. It doesn't mean that you have an issue now. You could have had an issue in the past and maybe it's healed, but
I did have a knee issue in the past.
so these are just,
yeah, I have no arthritis that I'm aware of. They, check bone scans and all that, and I have no pain or stiffness, but
Well, it could just be the energies are there. Maybe it's not, really at a physical level. So, this might just help clear some of those things
mhm.
up. And let's go to human body structure. And we can see if we can, what it comes up for your shoulder and arm. The bones, I doubt are an issue right now. If it's probably just more muscular, but we can look. Muscles. So we have the shoulders and arms. It's generally green, but we can add in the reds and the blues. This was your muscles. And we can add in the tendons. That covered your neck and hands and feet. Oh, here we go. Shoulders and arms.
Is there anything for right hip?
There are hips in here. Yep.
Do they
The
show, does
tendons.
that show up as a red or a green?
Well, for the tendons, these specific tendons, are showing. I don't know. This is hips and legs, but it's all connected. So
Yeah,
let's just see the muscles for the hips would be, oh, we didn't do the neck muscles either up here. Let's do, oh, and we have hip muscles up here. So,
okay, and it's red.
yep. Let's get the neck ones first. And the hip.
I notice whenever my left shoulder goes out, my right hip pulls up.
Oh, that's interesting. But I mean, again, it's all connected. So that incorporated some of the spinal nerves with it too. And the other thing while we're here, we can look at the ligaments. And hips. And I'm just going to add, this is your bone marrow. So maybe this will be helpful in getting your antibodies and everything in line. All right, so we have almost 200 items in here. I'm going to go now and hit select play, which will bring us to the progressive insights, and we can begin it now. And again, I'm going to move the timer to 1 minute and select all. And a lot of people ask all the time, like, how long do I play it for? I always like to start with 1 minute. In this case, more is not always better. A lot of times short bursts of the frequencies is better at like waking up the body to be aware that it needs to take those frequencies in and not oversaturate the energy fields with the frequencies. With that said, I have found if there are current injuries that sometimes running the frequencies for a longer period of time is helpful. So it really depends on the situation. energy flow is all within a good range. So I'm just going to deselect them, and I'm going to select the highs and the lows, and we can move the timer down to 0 minutes, and I'll run it for 30 seconds. Again, you had a great percent rectification there. The other thing I usually like to do, and I didn't do it this time, but I always think sometimes there's no mistakes. So you probably needed a little extra on these highs and the lows. But when I do see a high percent rectification, I do like to. Oh, sorry. I forgot. Thanks, Claire. You couldn't hear me. I forgot to rescan after I got a high percent rectification, but I think there's no such thing as mistakes. You probably needed some extra time on those highs and lows, but I did want to just rescan it and work with the highs and lows again, and just for 30 seconds. Okay, the percent rectification here was a little bit lower, 22%. But again, we just had a high percent rectification, so I'm not really too worried about it. I am going to back out, and I'm going to clear the main hold tray here. And I'm just going to, I'm back at my library, and I just want to type in antibodies and see, I'm not sure. So I have an antibody library that I just wanted to pull up, and I'm going to just add all of these into the main hold tray for you. And is there one specific one that you know is off for you, or is it
Well, not really. I mean, I know that when they tested me for allergies, I had none. And that was IgE antibodies. But
Okay.
when they tested me for sensitivities, I had lots, and I had to rotate foods to do that. So it would probably just be sensitivities.
Okay, let me just see. I don't know if I have anything.
It wasn't IgEs, so it was IgAs, IgGs, IgDs, IgGs, and IgAs.
I don't have any of those specifically. So
Okay.
let's run these.
Well, there's the thyroid fluoxetine, yeah, all of the thyroid antibodies.
So I'm just gonna run them all, and again we can put them at 1 minute. medication, and I just thought that I used the wrong search.
Hmm.
I did all, so when I searched the IG, all those ones,
Antibodies.
library names, if I select all, it may find line items, so I'm just gonna check to see if there's anything IgA. I don't know if I have anything, and it may be too much to.
Well, actually, my biggest issue is the thyroid antibodies, the peroxidase and,
Oh, the one that I got. Okay, great.
yeah, you did.
And actually, I might
And
even,
I just wish I could figure out why that is so high.
well, that we may never know,
No.
but. Okay, I don't have anything specifically to Hashimoto's, but we can go back to here. We could look, since this thyroid one has been the one that's an issue, we can check it off and we can look at the functional zone considerations. Okay, so it could be any of these different reasons. We can just go through them. I'm just going to add I'm going to add these lines down in first, so I don't forget to add them. So they're added, and now we can, if you click on the line, of an answer. So amino acid stress evaluation is saying 100% is affecting. So we can add that. Your pH alkaline stress is at 95. We can add that as well. Now we can look at tissue regulation. Just because you don't have some of these libraries, you could always put that particular antibody and create a library with that name and do the same type of thing that I am doing right now. You can look at we could add the degeneration level stress 1 and the cystic process evaluation. Miasm stress evaluation is at 100% and hormone stress evaluation is at 99. So these could be some of those factors that you were. Radioactivity stress evaluation at 100 and atmospheric stress at 98.
Well, we're just coming out of our steam heat session. Did you do psychogenic?
I did.
Oh, I didn't think you did.
I thought I did. It was hormone and miasm, I think.
That was
Yeah.
that was the last one. Now, I thought that was
Well, we can look at it.
tissue.
It's not going to give us the same answers if I go back in,
Oh,
but we can. Yeah, it came up with hormone stress evaluation and psychogenic. So we could add these two. Again. Interference zone. And so we have the Foci field stress evaluation and acquired interference stress. Food allergy stress evaluation is at 100%. and non-autoimmune allergy stress evaluation in 99. And finally, the microorganism. Okay, and here we have yeast stress evaluation and at 100 and Lyme stress at 97.
I worked with a lot of Lyme's patients, and I've had tons of mosquito bites, but I've never felt like I had any Lyme symptoms.
Well, it could just be the energy of it. Again,
Uh-huh.
it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily. So now I would just run again all these items for 1 minute. Rectification again, so that is great. We have gone a little bit over, but I would like to go back now and just look and see what your aura looks like now. Where is it? Okay, so it is the green color is coming towards the center, which is closer to your physical body, and now it's not as bright on the outside, but that's okay. It's always going to be moving and switching. And this still looks good that, as far as you being grounded and everything. What I will run right now is just go and run some just going to clear out this main hold tray and add in some essences for you. So I'm just going to add in some of these essences for spiritual growth. I'll add the reds and the blues. And want some of the crystals as well. And then we can just run these for 30. Let's just run these for 30 seconds. Percentage is a little bit low on that, not as nice as I would like to see, but let's just see how it has shifted your aura. And also, while this aura analysis is running, would you just kind of tune in and see how your neck and your
I've been doing that, and there's definitely the perception of pain is almost gone.
oh, that's great.
I
Awesome.
still can feel the knot in there, back there, but the perception and the discomfort of from the pain is gone.
Oh, excellent. That's great news. Let's just run this in.
Whew.
So we could still work on the your aura a little bit, but it's still we see some the energy is moving. Well, it moves from left to right, but when we look at it because of the mirrored effect, it looks like it's moving from right to left. So we would like to see some little better energies coming in there. We can always just clear this out. I always like to try. Let's just run some neurotransmitters in there and I'm just going to run some blue. Oops. At a good percent rectification at 65%. So we won't, hopefully this time the third. Okay,
Oh,
I would suggest running some spiritual protection. Sometimes as we run frequencies and we peel the layers, they may hide and then they come forward. But I would run those spiritual protection libraries for you. You're still grounded in there, but you can just run this panel and maybe you want to run it for a while. You did have quite a bit that were blue in here. And then the dark energy up here. So I would suggest, you know, when we finish this, maybe run that for you muscle test. I would just muscle test how
Yeah.
long to run those for on you. Sorry,
Okay.
we've gone over, so I can't
I appreciate all you've done.
run that for you now. I would be so interested. I don't know how often if you do when you check your antibodies, but if you work on them to see how you do with it, if the genius is able to help you with it.
That would be great.
So anyway, does anybody have any further questions? Claire, I think you answered the last one.
That was to Lilia. You might want to add to that because she's asking about how many to add into a playlist. I'm just saying be a little discerning.
Yeah, well, you're asking how many playlists do you send out for a free trial? I'm not sure what you mean by that. And do they load them all on one tray? What do you mean by on a free trial? How many playlists?
On capsule, I think.
Hi, yes, when people get a free trial from my website, how many playlists should I send them? And then when they load them at their end, do they all just go on one tray?
They're going to load just one code at a time. I don't believe you could load multiple codes. Can you, Claire?
No, don't
No,
think so.
they would only load one code at a time. They can add all the frequencies from that one code. they, unless you gave them specific instructions, they wouldn't know which ones to add or which not. So I always recommend that they just add the whole playlist. That's what I was working on, would have worked on them anyway in their session. I would have run all those items. As far as how many codes you send someone, I mean, that's really up to you. You know, that's really up to you as the,
So realistically as well, you have to take into account how much they're going to listen to, or, you know, and how much time it's going to take for them.
exactly. I mean, a lot of times I would send two. This is just me. You can do whatever you want. I like sending them like the primer frequencies. So they have that. They could always run that, you know, every day for a minute. And then whatever then, you know, the other frequencies were, which was what you were, you know, working on specifically there. And so they can run those two different sets of frequencies. I don't think you need to send them more than that. Like Claire said, it would be too much and they wouldn't know which ones to run. And so I
Mhm.
hope that helps answer your question. Yes,
Not really,
it doesn't.
but thank you. No, I'm still not clear.
Why aren't you clear?
Well, I was under the impression that there seems to be two ways to do it here. You work with your clients online and you treat them online. Is that how you do it?
I usually, when I have a client, my first session with them will be this way so they can see what the Genius is and how I work. But otherwise I work remotely with them. So, you know, they'll sit quietly, whether they meditate or just rest or relax, and I will run a scan just like I did today. And, you know, so maybe, you know, the very first frequencies that I ran were the priming vessels. That was with the minerals, vitamins, amino acids, and everything in the biofield.
Mhm.
So that could be one code that you send them to their Quanta capsule. And, you know, the second code is up to you. You could either, you know, in me, I work within the general overview. I have already worked with that. So the next code I would send them would be like the symptoms that I was working with. So for example, like Melinda, maybe I would send the codes for the pain in her shoulder and her neck. But you, after having communicated, Melinda, the pain seemed to resolve itself. So maybe I would choose to send the antibody frequencies to have her listen to. Now, in that case, there were only 11. But it's you as the practitioner, your discretion on what you want to send. But there's not a right or wrong. I just wouldn't oversend and send them 5 codes. Unless you gave
So,
them specific instructions. Maybe you would say, you know, I don't know how you work with them. Each code only lasts 7 days. So maybe you would say for the first week, listen to code 1. Week 2, listen to code 2. But depending on how many codes you send, you know, you're lessening the amount of potential time that they could come to you for a session. So again, it really depends on how you want to structure your business.
yeah, that's what I need to think about. And also what I'm finding is that I'm getting so many questions back. What about this? What about this? So I need to make it so that it's easier to understand. And
Questions because they don't know what those line items mean.
yeah, and they're looking in at all the things and going, what is all that stuff?
Yeah, I would tell them, I would tell them not to like overanalyze it. That's truly the reason why I run my sessions remotely and not on a Zoom like this after the first time, because I found that my clients just start looking at the reds or the blues, and they kind of, a lot of people may get anxious and they, or, you know, will be saying like, oh, well, what does that mean? What is that? What's wrong with me? And so if they're not
Yeah.
seeing anything and they're just kind of meditating and, you know, thinking about what their intention is that they want to heal, it's more beneficial to them. And you can always go over it if you want, or just say, you know, don't go through the list, just load it up and hit play.
And would you have around 200 in one list? 150 to 200, or
You could, I
sometimes
mean,
like,
you know, like the vessel priming has 162 items in it.
uh,
And they list, you know, and listen to that. You know, they're not listening to it for hours at a time. I wouldn't put more than 200 items in there.
mhm. And what about the parasite clip? When you're trying to kill parasites, I thought it was 17 minutes for parasites.
Yeah, I would
But-
have them, then I would instruct them. I mean, that has to be that your instructions that you're giving them. It depends what you're working on. If you're working on parasites, then yeah, I would tell them to, when they use the Quanta capsule, and for that code that has to do with parasites, to play it at 17-minute, you know, increments.
Uh-huh.
You know, each 17 minutes is like one kill cycle. So if, you know, you want them to get more than one kill cycle, they would have to listen to it for more than 17 minutes.
Right. Okay. Thank you. That's clearer now.
Okay, good. I'm glad you're clear. Now, there was another question, so let me just, oh, Susan, very interesting. I'm glad, I'm glad. I hope that helped. All right. So anyway, thank you, everyone. It was always a pleasure working with everybody. And if you have any questions, you can always email me at Denise@Inside Health Apps. And I look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you
Great,
so much.
thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.